Welcome back, folks, to another Budget Gem or Budget Bust. And today we are going to kick it old school. So for those of you who are confused about whether or not Big D Wiz and I are the same person, you're about to be even more confused because I'm doing an old school amp. I promise we're different people. I'm Ryan, he's Derek. He does old school stuff, I do budget stuff, and you know, hey, that's the way it is. But then he starts doing budget stuff, so now I'm going to start doing old school stuff. So you're going to be really messed up now. But I've got an amplifier here, and this brand has never been on the dyno before. This is an old Audiobahn A1300HCT, which was a high current amplifier. What a high current amplifier is Class AB, which most Class ABs were typically 2 ohm stable, 4 ohm bridged. This is a monoblock that gets all the way down to 1 ohm. So high currents were Class AB 1 ohm stable amplifiers. This amplifier was originally rated at 300 watts by 1 at 1 ohm, 600 watts by 1 at 2 ohms, and 1200 watts by 1 at 1 ohm. Now the reason why I'm testing this is because I've been in the car audio scene in and out for roughly the last 20 years. And 20 years ago, the opinion of Audiobahn was great looking stuff, performs fairly well, but it's overrated. I had some of their subwoofers and they were overrated. I've never had one of their amplifiers before, but the consensus was they were overrated stuff. And then, you know, the years have gone by, and the opinion of what people thought of Audiobahn, since they weren't being made anymore, started to change. So a lot of, I think, misinformation went out there. So like, for example, this one here. A lot of people say to me that this should be a 1600 watt amplifier because it's so underrated. And I remember 20 years ago, and I don't think that was the case. But they swear, you know? Kind of like your buddy who hooked up with an ugly person 20 years ago, and now, retelling of the story, the woman looked like Giselle Bundchen or Cindy Crawford. Only hotter. So that's, I think, kind of what's going on with Audiobahn right now. But we're going to find out the truth. The very first Audiobahn amp dyno. So there's nothing to unbox. It's an old amp. There's, you know, it's got some wear to it, so I'm really not feeling like going around it. So let's just jump into an amp dyno and let's find out the truth on this amp after so many years. I'll see you after the test. Okay, final thoughts here on the Audiobahn A1300HCT. As you just saw in the video, I am going to have to call this an old school Buster-Rooney, folks. Yeah. You saw only 830 watts certified at 1 ohm and just about 900 something watts dynamic. You might have noticed I didn't do any uncertified tests, and the reason why I didn't do any uncertified tests is this is an older amp, and doing these sine waves on these amp dynos is very, very stressful. Even though this is my own amp, I didn't really want to blow it up because it's a survivor. This amp is damn near 20 years old. The components inside are very likely 20 years old. Who I got it from, obviously, this wasn't Legends of Car Audio. The guy who had this definitely rode this amp hard at one time and put it away wet. It's actually cleaner than when I got it in. So I didn't want to stress it out too badly, but I knew we could do a certified test safely, and I knew we could do the dynamic test safely. And those are really some of the numbers. Uncertified is not really going to be beyond what it is dynamic. It's certainly not there. So I think I can finally put to rest the rumors that these 1200 watt Audiobahns really do 1600 watts at 14 volts, and they were rated at 12 volts, and they're super, super underrated, and they fight crime on the weekends. They look amazing. It's just not the case. Again, 20 years ago when these came out, a lot of the people that were in the bass community or in the sound community all thought these amps were underrated. Over the years, it's just been like that hookup you had many years ago, and that person's more and more attractive today in your memory than at the time. That's Audiobahn for you. Good looking stuff. If you were to do the 4 ohm and 2 ohm ratings, it's right there. It's just the 1 ohm where it's off, and that's arguably the most important. Now, does that mean I think these are horrible amps? No. In fact, I hooked it up to the test subwoofer I have here, and it sounds really nice. It is a Class AB high current amp, and I think that's where some people get confused, because there's never been a dyno with these, and I'm sure, when these things were going through the SPL lanes, there were no clamp tests. It wasn't a standard feature on the term lab like it is now, and everyone finds out what the clamps were that were accurate. So it's all been rumor and conjecture, but the sound on them sounds good. I had this playing, and if you had told me just without knowing anything, hooked up to a subwoofer, that this thing was putting out 1200 watts, I'd say yeah, probably. But it's not. It's more like 800 watts. 8 to 900 watts. So that's it. We have a first old school amp, and it's an old school Buster-Rooney. So that's it for me, folks. I got a lot more amps to test. I will see you next time.